In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to work inside the tabbed window interface, in which each and every open document appears as a tab at the top of the screen. Now, to get a sense of how this interface behaves, you need to have multiple illustrations open. So here's what I did. I took the welcomeagain.ai file, and I'll press Control-Alt-0 or Command-Option-0 on the Mac to zoom out so that we can see all of its artboards. And I went ahead and exported the first 5 artboards because we didn't need the 6th one, the one that includes all the others. The first 5 artboards I saved as independent documents. And here's how I did it. I went up to the File menu and I chose the Save As command, or you can press Control-Shift-S, Command-Shift-S on the Mac. And I went ahead and called this document In Pieces, like so. And you can see the various In Pieces documents that I've saved inside of the O2 workspace folder. I'll go ahead and click on the Save button, and then inside the Illustrator Options dialog box, I actually decided to go with an older version of the format. I sometimes do this to make sure my files are as accessible as they can be. But if I were to save this file as an Illustrator CS file the way it is, with these many artboards, then what Illustrator will do, quite wisely I think, since Illustrator CS did not support multiple artboards, is it will draw guidelines around where these artboards used to be. So at least if you make this bonehead maneuver and you didn't mean to do this and this is your only version of the file, you can come back in and redraw your artboards around the guidelines. So it's pretty smart. But anyway, here's what I want to do. I'm going to save each artboard to a separate file. And I just want the first 5, so I'll change my range value here to 1 through 5, and then I would click OK. And then what Illustrator does, I'm not going to do it right here in front of you because the work is already done. Illustrator goes ahead and calls each one of these illustrations in pieces underscore whatever the artboard's name was. And you may recall that we not only had the welcome artboard, but we had inactive and continue, join, and close named after the various pen tool cursors. Now, I can switch between them by clicking on any one of these tabs, which I figure is pretty self-evident. You can also switch between the various open illustrations by pressing Control-Tab here on the PC or Command-Tilde on the Mac. And the tilde key, by the way, is that wavy character to the left of the 1 key just above Tab on an American keyboard. Now, you may wonder why this big difference between the PC Control-Tab and the Mac Command-Tilde. Well, it's an OS level thing, so it's a difference between Windows and the Mac fundamentally. Notice that I cycled around. Once I got to the last illustration, I cycled back to the first one, and so on. If you want to move backward through the list, you press Control-Shift-Tab like so, or Command-Shift-Tilde on the Mac. You can also, incidentally, change your view. If you go up to the Arrange Documents icon in the application bar and click on it, you'll see that you have a variety of different ways to view your illustrations. For example, if I choose 2 up, then one of those illustrations is going to break out into an independent window. In this case, Illustrator chose the last document, close.ai. And the others are all going to be consolidated in this first window. And you can switch between them by clicking on this double arrow icon right there and choosing a different illustration. For example, I'm going to go with inactive, let's say, for the red version of the illustration. And then you can go ahead and scroll both of these pens so that you can see them on screen. In my case, however, I'm going to go ahead and switch to yet a different way of looking at my illustrations. I'm going to grab this guy right here by the title bar, and I'm going to drag it and drop it in a random area. And that will go ahead and display this illustration in an independent floating window. And notice that the floating window can float in front of everything, in front of panels. It can float up here in front of the menu bar. And of course, you can do this with as many windows as you like. I could grab this guy right here and drag him out from the group as well. If you want to add a window back to the group, I'll go ahead and drag this one down a little bit here. All you need to do is drag it in like so, and you'll see a blue outline around the group of consolidated illustrations. Then drop it into place, and it becomes consolidated as well. If you want to consolidate all of the illustrations, no matter what, then you go up to Arrange Documents, and you choose this guy, Consolidate All, and they're all back together again. Now they're kind of out of order, though. Notice that. So I'm going to click on InPiecesWelcome.ai, and let's say for whatever fussy reason, I want this guy back where he was in terms of the order of the windows. Then I'll go ahead and drag this tab back like so and drop it into place so that we have Welcome again, then InPiecesWelcome.ai, then InPieces Inactive, Continue, Join, and Close. in exactly the same order I opened them in the first place. If you want all your windows to float, you can go up to the window menu, choose Arrange, and shoot Float All Windows. And then after that point, notice that Cascade is currently dimmed. That's because it doesn't work unless you have floaters. So I'll go ahead and choose Float All in Windows. And then you have the option of either tiling the windows or cascading them, up to you. You can also consolidate them once again, which really, I think, helps maintain a less confusing interface. But of course, this is a matter of personal preference. One other thing I want to show you, I'll go to the window menu, choose Arrange, and choose Tile, which does work with consolidated windows. And notice that creates a tiled display right here so that you can see bits and pieces of all of your illustrations at once. Unfortunately, you'll need to scroll them independently in order to see what's going on. But notice that you're devoting very little room to window elements so that you can see as much of each illustration as possible. And just to line things up, so that we can see each one of these illustrations, I'll click inside each illustration and I'll press Control-0 or Command-0 on the Mac in turn, as you see me doing right here. And that will go ahead and center each and every one of these displays. That's how you work with the tabbed window interface here inside Illustrator CS5.